All right. I think that we are live. We'll see what
Okay.
happens.
Yay.
Says we're live. I just need to take a moment.
Is this thing on?
Is
Is this thing on?
this thing on? That's the main. Here we are. We are live.
Yay.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this episode of, I almost said Daviani TV. Welcome to this episode of the FCBDU podcast. My name is Deanna. I'm your host, and I am really so thrilled to showcase two guests today. Of course, we have Carolena and Yuri, founder of Fat Chance Belly Dance Style, aka American Tribal Style ATS. And also joining us, my dear friend Yuri. Hi, friends.
Hey, hi.
Good morning,
Hello.
good afternoon, good evening, good day.
Thank you.
How are we today?
Great.
Yeah.
Doing great. Yeah, really excited about the podcast
I
actually.
am too. So this episode is all about pride. Pride. I love June. I love this topic because it's all about well, Yuri, tell us what pride means to you. Let's hear it from you.
Boom. Okay.
Going right in for it.
You start with a big question. Oh my God. So, what is pride? Well, first of all, pride is to me the ability to be who you are, which I have to say sometimes is not super easy in today's world, but I think it's important to keep fighting for who we are and what we want, like the way we want to represent ourselves in the world. So that's probably the main thing about pride for me. And yeah, that's it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carolina, what does pride mean to you?
Short and sweet.
Short and
I
sweet.
think pride means finding your community. Like realizing that there's another half of the world out there people who share your values. So that's really nice.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Kind of from an outsider perspective, when I see pride celebrations, I feel like it's this like celebration of who you really are and putting that out there in the world so that people that share your same values, your same beliefs can find you. Yeah. So like that connection of like celebrating who we are, celebrating that we might not fit into whatever norm society has given to us, and that all of that is a bunch of bullshit. And so shining yourself as bright as you can so that you can encourage other people to be themselves. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Actually, because you just said from an outsider perspective.
Yeah.
Why do you consider yourself to be an outsider?
That's a really good question. So I feel like for myself, when I'm like celebrating pride, people are like, you've been married to a man for 20 something years. Like, you're not allowed to celebrate pride. When in fact, like June comes around and I'm just like, yay, let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. So I don't know. I guess I'm just like, nobody wants to hear, or I guess I'm just kind of like excluding myself from the conversation because I don't want to, I'm not an expert. I'm not, I don't feel like I'm necessarily a part of the LGBTQ plus community, even though I am a strong ally, right? So I think that was just it. It was just like me kind of removing myself, my straightness from the situation, and offering extra time for your explanation of what pride is.
So, if I may add something to what I said before, I would say that pride is, if you, I mean, if you are an ally, you are part of pride as well. So I really don't like the whole separation, like putting things in boxes. I mean, I do like it in some in some areas of my life, but when we talk about people, why do we need to talk about straight people than LGBTQIA plus people, for
Mm,
example? From the moment you're an ally, why would you separate yourself?
yeah.
I mean, you're a friend, you're of mine. You are an ally, as you said. So to me, you are part of the LGBTQ community, or better, we're all human. So I don't
All
really see
humans.
the
Pride and
whole separation
humanity.
thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You
Thank
can
you,
be
Yuri.
you can be queer but not gay. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that's like to me that was really eye opening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Well, I love that. I
cool.
love
Mhm.
So we're here to celebrate everything related to humanity, right? And specifically, it's just kind of carving out extra time this month to celebrate Pride. And so I'd love to kind of connect with our community that's out there on YouTube and that's joining us live or joining us later. So hello everyone, tell us what pride means to you, and then we'll hear from our audience. So I wrote a little thing here that says, in FCBD style, pride isn't just about performance, it's about belonging. This month, we're celebrating the ways our community uplifts every dancer, every story, and every unique expression. So, I wrote a bit of the blog, and that came out today in the newsletter. And just basically, like, from my perspective, this dance style it is pride. Like we celebrate every human, no matter where you're from, no matter what your background is, no matter what your body style is, or your whatever your background is, like you're welcome here. Not only that, but it's not about putting people on these different pedestals or different whatever. It's all about like everybody gets this opportunity to be seen, to be a follower, to be a leader, to be a part of a group, to be part of something greater than our individual selves, and to like put that out there in the world. So I feel like every time we show up as a group and dance, we are celebrating that community, that pride, that being together, and that inclusivity, that we're just like, yeah, everybody can do this. Everybody is a part of our community. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we have a few questions here. And of course, anybody that has questions in the audience, feel free to chime in. I would love to talk a little bit about how this dance style has supported your personal identity or your personal journey. So, yeah. So Yuri, let's start with you. Like, how has FCBD style, um, yeah, how has it supported you on your like journey of finding yourself, an identity, and whatever that means to you?
So I think that's actually a really hard question to answer. Incredibly, incredibly hard. Um, because, well, first of all, I started dancing with rock sharky and then with tribal fusion first. So I think that those two were already a really big part of me finding my own identity as a person, not only as a dancer. FCBD styling added the concept of community, as we said already. So that's something that I was missing in the other two dance styles, even though, as we know, the community is not that big. So obviously, it was pretty much like, everybody else that, in my opinion, has allowed me to connect to people in a different way, supportive, but also because of the dance style itself. The fact that we're actually able to dance together, the fact that I could just travel somewhere and dance with whoever knows FCBD style as well. That's what, that's pretty much what makes it special. And yeah, I think that I have struggled a lot in my life trying to find my community, and I think that I have now. So I do believe that FCBD style has this power of allowing people to connect more easily, if it makes sense.
Yeah, I totally see that, especially like with you and I, like we didn't really know each other, but it's like, no, but we're both FCBD style dancers. Like we already know each other. Like we're already BFFs, And so, yeah, the fact that we can just like jump on a Zoom and spend, I don't know what, 4 hours chatting with each other, or like you fly to the US and let's just go on vacation together, So it's really amazing to find community. Yeah. I think I see a little wasabi in the background.
Yeah, that will happen. Very needed today.
Your audio is breaking out just a little bit, so I just wanted to let you know we might have to like pause you, but yeah. So right now it's fine, but it just breaks out a little bit. And Carolina, I know that you, of course, we all know that you created the style of dance, but I can't imagine like trying to you found dance at a really young age, and then you started teaching at a young age, especially compared to what a lot of us start teaching. So I can't imagine like kind of going through this identity and like this growth as a dancer and on all of this. But can you maybe share a little bit about how this dance style has supported you in your personal growth and your journey?
Yeah, I can. I was, how can I put it? Where I grew up was pretty remote, and I was lonely a lot and bored a lot. It was way before progressive schools and opportunities for kids, and it was just you just go to school. That's it. That's what you do. When you're done going to school, you go to college. That's it. Like that was like that's the path. There is nothing else. And I couldn't work with either one of those. So I was really sort of struggling for like what am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I frustrated? Why am I anxious? Why am I lonely? Why am I bored? And when the opportunity came along to start teaching a class, it was like instant fulfillment. Do you know what I mean? It was like I could create the community that I wanted. And, which is how the business got built. It just was so, um, I was so enamored of what was like the energy that people were bringing to me, as they came to class, whether it was good or bad, whether it was inspiring or frustrating, it was still something other than just go to school and go to college and get married. And, what I mean? It was just like that road was not going to work for me. So just the ability to just create a whole world was fantastic. And it just filled my mind and it filled my heart. And now I live happily alone. I don't get lonely and I don't get bored because I have the world that I want. I'm not trying to fit into a world that just doesn't work. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that as well. I was seeking out belly dance classes because the place where I was living at the time in the US, I was very much an outsider. I didn't, it wasn't a matter of like having kids and going to church on Sundays and Wednesdays or what. Like I just did not fit in with the societal norms of where I was living. And I felt very much alone, and like it was hard to make friends because I couldn't really be myself. I had to just kind of like make myself small in a lot of circles. And when I found belly dance, and specifically this style, because I had danced other styles before I found this one, I was like, oh, these are my people. These are my people. Not only was it like tattoos, alternative beliefs in religions or world beliefs, but also like meeting a bunch of other people that shared my view of life isn't just about doing what society tells you to do, right? Just not going by the book. And yeah, I feel like it just kind of encourages me to do that along the way, and really like offered me the opportunity to step in to being myself in a place where I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. So yeah, this dance is really powerful in that aspect for sure. Just checking in with the comments real fast. Muriel and Tracy, hello. Muriel says pride means love and accepting everyone and growing together. Oh, I love that. And Tracy says moving into your dreams. I love that too. All right. So when we think about that, like where our kind of how this dance form has supported our growth, our kind of like trying to figure out our self identities and kind of leaning into what feels more like our authentic selves. I would love to kind of look at this in the context of like within the dance. Specifically, what does inclusivity look like in FCBD style, in either class or in a performance setting? So Carolina, can you kick us off with this one? What does inclusivity look like in a class or in a setting?
In a class or in a
Performance setting, either one.
inclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
Like define inclusivity.
Inclusivity to me would be that's a good place to start. What is inclusivity? Inclusivity to me is supporting all backgrounds and letting everyone have their opportunity to be seen and to be heard, regardless of their maybe difference of thoughts, their difference of opinions, their difference of a background, their physical differences.
That's a good question. Back in the day, I wouldn't say that I didn't respect inclusivity. I would say that I didn't always understand it because I was running the class. I'm the teacher. I'm paying the rent. I'm setting the agenda. I'm the one who's in charge. And sometimes people would challenge that, and I'm like, you might want to think twice about what you just said to me. So it was like a balance of like, wow, I'm letting people into my little introverted world, but I don't like all the people that I'm letting in. I need to let people in if it's going to be a business, but I need to create boundaries, So I think I learned a lot about welcoming people in and creating, as we've discussed before, I didn't create enough boundaries, but I sort of created like my boundaries were about this high. They should have been this high, but anyway. But basically just encouraging people to be polite to each other. Just be kind and be polite and be, and listen, like let the other person talk and listen. And, let the other person try out this different costume piece. Let's listen to this piece of music that somebody brought. That was sort of the softening of me. Instead of it being like, no, I'm in charge. This is my class. And if you come to my class, you do what I say. And then realizing that it's like, okay, got to be a little more flexible. So then it was just to ask people to just be kind to each other. And it didn't always work.
Mm.
Some people just don't have kind in them. But most people do. Most people have some. And if you encourage, like if you let them bring out their kindness in a safe space, they're more likely to, you know, go down that road if they feel safe too. Because that's the tricky part, right? Is that people who are mean and hurtful are coming from a place of fear.
Mm.
It was kind of like the big Buddhism bell that hit my head. I was like, oh wow, interesting. So whenever I see anybody who's just mean, just to use a really basic word, I'm like, there's some kind of fear going on there.
Mm.
Helps to have compassion for that. Doesn't mean that I want to, interact with it, but I can understand where it's coming from. So that's it. That's what I would say.
I think that's such a big that's such a big statement that that bears repeating, is that unkindness and meanness stems from fear. And usually it's just fear of like something different or something that they don't know about or something that they have been told in the past that they should be afraid of or whatever. And it's just like, yeah, that's just, anyway, we could go off on that topic. It's just ridiculous. So Yuri, what about you? What does inclusivity look like for you, both in class and in maybe a performance situation?
So I would actually like to connect to what Carolina just said, because I absolutely agree with what she said. I do believe that what she was talking about is kind of a gray area between inclusivity and respect.
Mm.
Because I do believe that, yes, if it's my class, I am the boss, period. I mean, you're paying me for a service.
Yeah.
So there are some rules, obviously, that you have to respect as a student, because this is my class is my 1.5 hour kingdom that you're joining, and you need to respect that.
I
right?
love it. Yeah.
Inclusivity, though, for me just means letting everybody in. I mean, I would never discriminate someone who wants to join my class just because they are straight or gay or transgender or non-binary or whatever, or a different ethnicity as I am. So that to me is inclusivity. Obviously, again, there is a really thin line between accepting someone to class and kicking them out because they're being disrespectful. That has nothing to do with being LGBT or being BIPOC or whatever else defines you. So it's really hard to find a balance in that sense. But yes, if we only speak about inclusivity, to me, it's just, everybody's welcome. There is no reason why I should exclude a person without even knowing them.
Mm.
If the person is behaving like an ass, then I will kick them out. But that's a different story. That has nothing to do with inclusivity for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
That's
gosh. I'm loving this conversation because I love what you just said. You're paying me for a service. So it's a disservice to you if I'm not taking the lead in this class, right? And also, I love when you said, you're welcome to my 1.5 hour, like this is my kingdom for for an hour and a half, and you're welcome to join it, right? Or not. So yeah.
Yeah, the thing is also, it's not only about you pay me for a service and I'm doing you a disservice if you don't respect me. You're also not respecting the others who pay for the class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, maybe you just want to have fun and you don't take it that seriously, but maybe the other 10 people in class are taking it seriously and they don't want to be interrupted. They don't want to have an annoying person leading the class instead of the teacher, and so on and so forth. So, it's just mutual respect in the end.
Yeah. Mutual respect.
And I think, never mind. Keep going.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm done.
No, yeah, I'm done too. Yeah.
Mutual respect, I think, is really, really big. And I just want to like reiterate what you just said. It's not about, so I don't think I've ever had to kick anybody like out of class for being an ass. I've never done that. I have blocked people on the internet for being an ass and or whatever, and it's those boundaries. It's like, hey, I respect you as a person. Clearly there was a disconnect and the respect being mutual, so I don't have time for this kind of a thing. And I think that's really important in a classroom setting, because yeah, like you just said, like you're stealing time away from the fellow dancers, from your teacher. I feel like inclusivity is also um inclusivity is also, I think, a way that you speak to to the people that are in your class, right? To the way that you interact when there are ideas popping up, or when people have a different learning style than you do, because it's not just a matter of like what you can see on somebody, it's also like what you can't see. So for instance, I have some students that maybe have a different learning style. So listening to what helps them learn, it's going to help me be a better teacher, right? It's not that I have to change my entire teaching style just to accommodate like these one or two people that are coming to my class. There is this give and take there, but just as an instructor, kind of learning a little bit more about the different learning styles and integrating what's going to help other learning styles into my classroom. So not just offering visual or auditory cues, but like the way that I put people into groups. Some people work better in smaller groups. Some people work better in larger groups. Just kind of understanding that, creating, I think Carolina, you said this, creating a safe space for everybody to feel like they can learn, that they can have a good time, they can be accepted just for whom they are and be a part of this community. I think that that's also different that's a little bit different also from the concept of, I know that I'm not the teacher for every person, right? Doesn't mean that everybody's not welcome into my class, but some people aren't going to connect with me, middle-aged white woman. They may connect better with somebody else. But I think just opening that up, and also if people don't connect with me as a teacher, that's fine. Like, let me give you some opportunities of some other instructors that you may better connect with. So I think that that's part of inclusivity too, is just uh, knowing when maybe offering a different type of teacher or different type of learning style is better for one student than the other. So kind of along those lines, how can we as instructors create more welcoming environments for dancers of all backgrounds, body types, genders, sexuality? What can we do, or what are we doing? And those of you in the following along live, please chime in. Let's talk first maybe about what are we doing? So Yuri, do you want to share a little bit about like I know that you're teaching classes currently. So what are some things that you're doing to create a little more of an inclusive environment for your students?
So first of all, I would like to connect to the last thing that you said about maybe not being the right instructor for someone, because that is something, for example, that for me is a big topic, being a male teacher. Some dancers might, or some people might decide to go to class because they feel safer with a woman as an instructor. So I think that the point that you brought up is really important. And I don't think there is a problem about just admitting that someone is not the teacher for you, also based on gender. And it can happen that women might not be comfortable with me because I'm a man. What really helps is that I'm a gay man, and I'm not. I don't hide it. So that's something that really helps, I have to say. And going back to the question, what I try to do to create a welcoming environment is, as I said before, I try to just include everybody. I don't make differences among my students. I try to be thoughtful and trying to understand what a student needs, how a student feels. Or one of the things that is most important for me is, for example, hands-on correction. That is something that I'm really careful about, because being a man, some women might react in a bad way, not because of me personally, but just because maybe they had bad experiences in the past with someone else. So that's always something that I try to do, to include people, especially. One of the things that I would also say is, and that brings us a bit to my specialty, which is languages. I think it's really easy, for example, in English, to address people with a neutral term, because if you just speak to to your students and you just call them either students or dancers, those are neutral words that you can use. It's a bit harder sometimes when I'm in class with English teachers and they say ladies, because that doesn't include everybody. Even harder is in German or Italian, because the word dancer has gender. So you have a word for male dancers and a word for female dancers. Usually what used to happen is that the male word is the one used for everybody, also when you have a mixed group. But I do understand that some women don't agree with that. So it's, I think one important thing to do in the classroom is to try to use a vocabulary that includes everybody. So trying to use gender neutral words as much as possible, which, as I said, in English is pretty easy. One thing that I do really often when I teach in German, especially, I don't teach in Italian that often, but if I did teach in Italian, I would probably just use the word people, because that's a gender neutral word in German and Italian, instead of saying dancers or ladies or gentlemen, or also because if you say ladies and gentlemen, there might be a non-binary person who still doesn't feel represented by that word. So I think it can be tricky, but that's one of the things I'm working on. One of the things that I should definitely also start doing, it hasn't happened to me yet, but so asking for people's pronouns. That's also, I think, an important thing nowadays that we should try to do. I have to say I don't have much experience with that, because I don't know many non-binary people. So sometimes I just don't think of asking someone's pronouns. But again, inclusivity goes both ways. On my side, there is the thought and the attempt to include that in my classroom. On the non-binary person side, there should be the understanding that maybe not everybody has the same experience. So as much as I'm an accepting person, as I said, if I don't have experiences with non-binary people, I might not be used to doing that. So it's a learning moment for me as well. And yeah, that's definitely one of the things that I think should be included in a classroom, just to let everybody feel welcome in the end. That should be the main goal. So using a vocabulary that makes people feel welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, so obviously I'm making notes because everybody's saying so many great things. So neutral pronouns is definitely something that, well, living here in Portland, like, so Yuri, when you were here, you're like, I didn't realize how many bathrooms are gender neutral. I was like, well, they're all, that's why it's not a big deal. Like for me, I'm like, well, this is the environment that I live in. Like gender neutral bathrooms, that's just the way that it is. Like, if you don't know somebody's pronouns, I tend to use they a lot more these days, because I'm like, well, I don't know. And I don't know who wants to be asked their pronouns or who doesn't. So I feel like they and their are gender neutral, for a long time I used the word guys, because where I was from, South Florida, that was our gender neutral term. Hey guys, hey guys, hey guys. And then people are saying like, that's not gender neutral, which were in my environment, it was, but okay. So we're not using that. And they're like, we should use y'all. And I'm like, I'm not using y'all. I lived in the South for a long time. And that brings across like different emotions for me, so also just knowing that being self-aware is really important too. So all these conversations that we're having about how we can make our classrooms more inclusive and having these gender neutral terms, I also think that it's up to the students to be self-aware that
Mhm.
not everybody knows, right? And that I wrote down learning moments.
Yeah.
Learning moments. The way that I teach today is different than the way that I taught 5 years ago, which is different than the way that I taught 10 years ago, as it should be, right? We are
Yeah.
all learning and we're all growing, and the world changes and shifts and language changes. And I think that having just these conversations within the community about the whys, like being what something I love about our community is we can just have an open conversation. I know the three of us have been in rooms where we've had open conversations and we're like, but can you just explain this? And then Yuri's like, yeah, here's the perspective. And it's like, oh, okay, I get it now, and just being able to have that as part of the inclusivity. Judging somebody just because they didn't know is not inclusive, regardless of where you're coming from. So being kind,
Mhm.
being open, and seeing these opportunities as learning opportunities as both a teacher and a student is really, really important.
If I may say something about that, that's actually something that I have a really hard time with when having to do with LGBTQIA plus people, because sometimes people just take for granted that you should know things. So there is no space for, like, there is no space for mistakes,
Mhm.
which I think is a pity, because especially as a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, I know what it means when people are against you. So why would you go against someone who's not saying, I don't do it because I don't believe this exists, or I don't do it because I don't understand it, but I don't do it because I'm not used to it and I'm trying to implement it in my daily life? It should actually, that should be something that should be understood, and that people make efforts to to better themselves. So just be patient, and we're working on it.
Yes, thank you for that. Be patient. We're working on it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's huge. It's kind of like, it reminds me if I were to look at if we sat down and we both had, like, let's say our Instagram reels up, right? Like your Instagram reels are going to look way different than my
Mm.
Instagram reels, right? So if we get stuck in this box of like, well, doesn't everybody know this? It's all over Instagram. It's like, no, it's all over your
Your
Instagram
research.
based off of your beliefs and your purchasing habits and your conversations that it's listening in on, all of those things. So what you think is obvious to someone and like, well, they should know. It's common knowledge. Not so much.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And also you can read something about any topic, but in the end, if you don't have the possibility to apply it, the reason why we use he and she is because we've heard it since we were born, basically. Well, not me, because I'm not a native speaker, but still, since I started learning English, it was he and she. So obviously I'm used to using those pronouns. Don't expect me to use pronouns that I'm not used to if I've never had the chance to practice that. Like, give me take a chance
Yeah.
on me. No, sorry.
I love it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, again, be kind. Just chill. It's good.
Yeah.
I'm
Be
doing my
kind.
best.
Yeah. We're all human. We're all trying.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, anybody that hears a song and wants to sing it as part of the conversation,
Oh
I'm like
yeah.
extra love, right? Take a chance on me.
That happens a lot, especially in English. I mean, that's how I learned English, basically, through songs. So every sentence to me is connected to a song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like in my past life, right? I worked in the construction industry, right? So there's not a lot of gender fluidity happening there. It's a very much white male dominated industry, right? My industry that I'm in now, I have every opportunity and location that I'm in now. So living in Portland and being a yoga instructor, at an athletic club, I have so many opportunities to use they, their, to ask people what their pronouns are. My name tag for work has my pronouns on it. I work with many, many non-binary people and transgender people, and that's just kind of like my new norm. And I love that so much because I have more opportunities to like check in with myself, like what are their pronouns, and did I just refer to a pronoun that wasn't what they wanted, and then like if I did, how do I say sorry, or do I say sorry, or like I don't know, so there's just a lot more opportunities for me to practice being mindful around lots of different people. And I love that. But there's just not, especially like if you work from home, there's not a lot of opportunities to get to know people, let alone maybe even their pronouns or, a lot about them. I just want to pause for a moment. We have lots of great comments coming in, so I'm just going to check in with them. Janice, hi Janice. She says, love you guys. See, gender neutral. Love you guys. Dance is life. At 79, I broke my leg, starting to dance again. Welcome, Janice. So glad that you are feeling better and you're dancing again. Lacey Sanchez, where the heck have you been? Okay, she says, I think that's your pronouns, Lacey. I find with meanness being fear. It is often that if what that thing represents is true and is allowed, it butts against their beliefs or their core, and they are being challenged, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, you can't, this is against what I know, and that can't be correct. And it's like, just open your mind a little bit, and maybe perhaps what you learned isn't the correct thing. And Lacey says, yes, being respectful to everyone else. If you need the attention, that is called a private lesson. Yes. Lori, she says, love this topic. So important to be the example as a teacher. Students that resonate will stay. Absolutely.
Indeed.
And Lori goes on to say, I like to say to dancers, movers in English, or I make up a word like in Spanish. Oh, she says dancers, movers in English, or I make up a word. Yes. Lori has made up a few words, and I'm going to leave them for her to share, but she has some really great words that she's made up.
We want them. Please share them.
Please share your made up words, Lori. And then Lacey says, I feel as a teacher, my job is to work outside the scope of just me as an individual and to think more globally, wider. So making the conscious effort to the environment and culture of my area. For her area that she's serving, even if she doesn't normally interact with that community. That's huge. I love that. So being aware of where you are teaching and adjusting to make a conscious effort to connect with that culture or that environment that you're in. Hinessa, hello. It's like I haven't seen you in forever. As a teacher, it's also important for me to not make any kind of distinction, ensuring that everyone who feels safe and comfortable. And then she goes on to say, I agree that with Yuri that maintaining neutral language is very helpful in making everyone feel welcome. I love this. I just read something, it was related to yoga, but it's related to what Hinessa is saying. It says, as a teacher, teach to the person in front of you, not to the story that you've made up about the person in front of you.
It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's important. So, yeah, you may have something that you think based off of somebody's looks, somebody's name, somebody's background. Like, forget all of those, what's the word? Those boxes that you've put them in, or those labels that you've subconsciously even assigned based off of your experience, and focus on them as an individual.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear also from the audience, what are you doing to make sure that your classes are inclusive? And I mean, maybe you're like, I don't care about my classes being inclusive. Maybe you're focused specifically on like a hyper hyper exclusive type of class. Maybe you're teaching to women that are 65 and older, or maybe you are teaching to transgender teens, or maybe you're teaching to men. Like maybe you do have a hyper focused style class, and I think that that's important too. If you have a background that will help you connect and that you feel passionate about, I mean, it's okay to teach a queer only belly dance class. Like, I think that that's super cool. We have a lot of that here in Portland too. I have this amazing teacher that I adore, and he taught I think it was just called queer yoga. And I reached out and I was like, can I come? And he was like, absolutely. Everybody is welcome. It's just, I put that label on my class so that specifically people that are queer know that they are welcome in this class, but everybody is welcome. And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
So what can we do to make our classes even more inclusive? Like, what are maybe some things that we're just learning that we weren't doing or that we want to start doing? This could be classes, workshops, performance classes. Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, what I want to start doing, something that I'm not doing, that I want to start doing, is I want to use images to promote my classes that have a variety of body types and shapes and backgrounds. And I just don't have that right now, because in my mind, I'm like, but it has to be this professional photo. And the only photos that I have that are professional are like me in a costume posing for a photo shoot. But something that we had in a previous podcast made me realize like that doesn't have to be the case. And so using images that people can connect with, right? These perfect posed images aren't images that everybody can connect with. Those might be great for workshops for people that already know who I am or, you know, what they're looking for. But for people that are just like, I'm looking for a class where I can meet new people, having images of all types of people is really important to me. So that's what my goal is for my next dance sessions, is to use more kind of like casual, inclusive imagery to promote my classes.
That is actually a really good point. I think that is one of the reasons why I always ask for permission. So when someone signs up in my classes, usually I ask them to sign a paper that states that they give me permission to use photos and videos from the class. Obviously, I would ask them again every time if I take a picture, I would ask them whether they're comfortable with me using it, or a video especially. I mostly did it for videos so that I could show drills, but I think what you just said is a really good idea, like use dance or class photos to promote is much more relatable rather than seeing, you know, especially in my case, once again, because I'm a man and mostly FCBD Style speaks to women, because that's how it is. And, you know, seeing a man with makeup and a turban and a sword and what have you, it might not speak to many people who are not experienced. So I think it's a brilliant idea. I should probably do that too.
Right. We're going to hold ourselves accountable. I'll send you my ad. You send me your ad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll take some photos this summer when we do have lots of bodies, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have time.
We have time. Yes. Okay. So those of you in the audience, what maybe are you doing to help promote inclusivity in your classes? So I'm going to checking in. Lori says she's working on the new words. She's percolating on it. For those of you that we're at Tea for Tea, you know what we're talking about. Lacey says, hee hee, I know I crawled into a cave for a while, but I'm trying to get out and get some sunshine again. Like with this live. Love you all. Love you too, Lacey. providing modifications and yes to photos of diversity. Let's talk about modifications. Yeah, she says, yes, I think a mix of performance photos and class photos helps speak to a wider audience. Also thinking, what am I advertising? Yeah, what am I advertising? We get so stuck sometimes in our little bubble, right? Well, everybody, well, here we go. Here, this is what we were talking about. Well, everybody knows what this is. Well, no, only everybody in your newsfeed knows what this is. But how do you appeal to people that don't know anything about it? How do you get this across in one photo? That's our challenge to everybody, right?
Yeah. You know what I would wish for? I have postcards with photos and my information that I can give out as flyers, basically. I would wish that we could put a video on a postcard so that people can actually see what we're doing.
Yes. I feel like that will happen, with technology, being
point.
able to just put these like tiny little upload something to that's gonna it's like Harry Potter in the real world, right?
Exactly. I mean, there is probably not the best thing to talk about Harry Potter on Pride Month,
Well,
but
probably not, but you know what? Let's stop. Forget about the author. Let's just talk about like the art.
well, actually, we could actually we use QR codes, and
Yeah.
usually we have QR codes. I mean, at least I use QR codes, for example, linking to my website. We could have some linking to class video.
Love it.
Yeah, I was sorry. Let me interrupt by coughing. But I like right when you were saying, I wish we could have video. I was like a QR code.
Yeah.
Just like watch me dance here, or watch us dance here. That would be exciting.
That's a brilliant idea.
I was the queen of postcards back in the day. You know what I mean? Like I was like, everyone should get a postcard everywhere we go. Just hand out a postcard. But now you can put like a video link on it. Oh, how exciting! Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's such a great idea. And then right as I would click over, Tina's like, put a QR code. There it is, right? Put a QR code. I love that idea. And yeah, with this many people in our community, we should be able to be like reach out and be like, hey, can I put your photo on my postcard? Because I don't have anybody in my class that meets this kind of like criteria, and that I'm really trying to reach out and show this diversity, right? So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's check in with I have other questions. And also I'd like to hear from the comments here. I'm just going to throw a question out there, and we can just see if anybody in the comment section has anything. But if there's any stories that you'd like to share about times when inclusivity made a meaningful impact to you, to people in your audience, to your fellow dancers, I would love to hear that. I know that just even having different body shapes, a lot of people will go up to somebody that isn't necessarily like a specific, what you think about, or what society, I should say, not us, but like what society thinks about as belly dancer. They'll usually go up to that person and be like, wow, I was so inspired by watching you dance. It's usually the person that is not the little box the little box that society has put, that's like, that's the person that I can connect with. Isn't that interesting? It's like the diversity is what draws so many people in, because they can see themselves in that. Yeah, and I love that. So I know how we've gotten a lot of dancers at Dave Yanni. When we were there, we would dance at a festival, and they would just see variety of ages dancing together, variety of body shapes dancing together, variety of just everybody kind of coming together in this beautiful group. And they were just like super inspired by that.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, dancers, love to hear a little bit more about ways that having diversity and inclusivity in your performances have inspired either your fellow dancers or those people in your audience. Let's see. And then Lacey says, sharing photos with other teachers in other areas. I kind of love that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? And And Tracy says she took FCBD in the past in Spokane. Oh, I love those girls up there in Spokane. And now she's living in Pittsburgh. She can't teach but wants to learn again. I know that there are teachers out there in the Pittsburgh area. Lacey says, for a long time, I was the only teacher in my city who allowed men in class. And I have had many men over the years express their gratitude to be included. Wow. Way to go, Lacey. Yeah, I think that I have seen some classes that have like women only. And I respect that because maybe they have people that are specific religion or I don't know, whatever the case is. But I think that's okay. Just like it would be okay to have a men's only belly dance class. Gives people that safe space to just be themselves and not be judged for whatever reason that they think people of a different gender would be judging them.
Yeah, I think, I mean, yes, and I don't know. I don't know if I agree or not.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's just, I think it's really complicated because, yes, I would understand it if a teacher were to offer a mixed class and a male only or female only class, or non-binary only, or just an exclusive class, so to speak. I don't know how many people have the possibility to do that. Like, I would love to have enough students to be able to say, oh, I will have 3 classes per week, where one is only for men, one for women, and one is mixed, or one is only for LGBTQ people, etc. So in that case, though, I would understand it. But if you don't have enough students, I think as teachers, we also have a duty to allow people in. Just imagine again, I'm a man. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time in the community, because on the one hand, it's really good to show inclusivity because I'm a teacher and I'm a man, so obviously men can do this. On the other hand, if I were to go, or if I wanted to go to a class in Berlin, for example, an FCBD class that is only for women, and I have no other options, it's tricky. It's really tricky. It would be really upsetting for me if I were not able to go to a class just because there are no other teachers teaching, and I'm a man, so I'm not allowed to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think I've actually said anything important, but it's just like, my mind brainstorming about how would it be to solve this problem somehow. I don't know. It's a tricky one.
It is tricky. Yeah, like I said, here in Portland, there's classes all day long that are like for this community or for this community or for this type of person or for this type of person. But there's enough that you can find something for yourself, kind of a thing. But I have been not dance classes, but like I was in India and I wanted so much to go into this Shiva temple and women were not allowed. And I was like pissed for 2 weeks, but I can understand because I respect I know that's a different type of situation because of the religion and tradition. But I can understand like being a little bit like, what do you mean I can't be in there just because I'm a woman?
It's a different situation, but it doesn't, to me, that doesn't, how do you say that? It's not an excuse still, because you're still excluding someone.
Right.
Even if it's because of religion or something. Why would you need to exclude another human being to go inside a place where other human beings are?
Right.
It's just, Carolina, sorry.
Excuse me. I'm really having an internal struggle. Like, I'm hearing what you guys say. I'm agreeing with what you say, but I'm 20 years or 30 years older than both of you. And I came from a world where things were segregated and we just went along with it.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? When I was a little girl, we were not allowed to wear pants to school.
Mhm.
So because it was cold, our mothers would dress us in pants under our dresses, and at the school border, they would take our pants off. Now,
Mhm.
think about that now. That would be like blowing up the news for child abuse, like for exploitation of, but it was just the way it was. It
Mhm.
was just the way it was. So, and throughout my dance career, I've, man, I don't even know how to, um, what am I trying to say? From where you guys are at right now, all the inclusivity is part of culture,
Mhm.
you know, and you can choose to be inclusive or not to be inclusive, but the concept of inclusivity is part of our modern day culture, which is great, right? But back in the day, my classes were for women only because when the guys would show up in class, they kind of skeeved the girls out. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It wasn't like elegant gay men like Yuri and Merrick that were showing up to class. It was literally like dudes in sweatpants and t-shirts that just wanted to meet chicks. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, whoa, like the women in my classes said, you either have to like restrict the dudes or we're not coming back. And I was like, the dollar bill, y'all, right? I mean, if there's 9 women in the room who are not going to come back because there's one dude in the room, that dude's got to go.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that things are more inclusive now. I'm glad that um, that Yuri and elegant, intelligent, compassionate, interesting, patient, kind men like you have learned how to dance and can now go into, you know what I mean? But it's a big thing to go into a class and the women are like, oh, it's a guy. Not a,
Mhm.
do you know what I mean? But back in the day, it wasn't like that. So it's like, whoo, my brain is just doing somersaults of like, but yes, and yes, and,
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant before when I said my mind is like I'm brainstorming, but I cannot find a solution because I know that there are situations where you might not want a man in class. You know,
The
there was
same.
something there was something interesting that I read. There was an article that I read on online a few days ago where they said that they would like to have carriages on trains, like pink carriages where only women are allowed, so that women would feel safer, for example, to travel at night.
Mm.
Great. I think it's a good idea. What do we do about gay men who have to sit with white, cis, hetero men, maybe also Nazi? Uh, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's why that's why I'm thinking. Yes, on the one hand, I absolutely agree with Carolina. On the one hand, I do understand that it is needed sometimes to have restrictions. On the other hand, is where do we draw the line,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? That's why for me, I mean, right now I don't have an answer. There is really no answer to that for me.
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
but I completely understand that sometimes it's needed to have an LGBTQ class because maybe there is some woman who's a homophobe and doesn't want to share her class with a gay man, for
Yeah.
example. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
um, so yeah, absolutely.
And I think I guess the way that I'm going to offend somebody no matter what I say, but um, the thing that I ran up against was this is a dance class. It should be open to everybody. But at the same time, if you're going to walk into this room, you have to be respectful of the other people in the room and you have to be very respectful of the teacher. And if you're going to walk into the room and demand more attention than the teacher, not because I have an ego, but because my job, as Yuri said, is I'm here to teach people in this room. They're coming to take my class, not listen to you belly on about whatever your ego wants to belly on about. It's like, how do you create that level of like we're all the same and we
Mm.
respect each other the same, and we don't interrupt, and we don't interject, and we don't suck up all the attention. We don't make demands on people. How do you make that? That's the thing that sort of dissolved my studio, was I could not figure out how to get people to come in on a level playing field.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, because San Francisco is was it's not anymore, but it was a really vibrant place where there was just lots of different kinds of people, kind of like the way Portland is now. It's like, let's just try it. Let's just see if this works. Let's see if that works. It was that kind of an environment, but sort of, I don't know. It just became very difficult to maintain a consistent environment.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's that's the question mark that's been over my head for quite a few years.
Mm.
Yeah, I think like, the studio, like basically like studio etiquette, like what is the studio etiquette, and having that up front. So I'm reading this, and this all reminds me of this book that I'm reading. And I know I've mentioned it to Carolina. I don't know if I've told Yuri. So I'm reading this book called Why We Gather.
Mm.
And it's really, really good. I highly recommend it for all teachers. It's called Why We Gather. And it talks about, well, why we're gathering, right? So it's like, but it's really like talking about identifying the purpose around gathering, and how a lot of times we just gather out of habits, like birthday parties or whatever, but it's like really tuning into why you're here. So I think that that's it. It's like, what's your why? Why do you want to be a teacher? Why do you want to teach this specific dance class, right? So if maybe my why is I want to help homeless teens. So you're teaching a dance class that's showing empowerment or teaching empowerment and group work to teens that maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity before, right? Then it would be a very exclusive type of class. Maybe your why is I want to create a professional troupe to perform because that's what I really want to do. So your classes, you're going to want to gear towards people that want to ultimately perform. Maybe a few will sprinkle in there, here or there, but like really honing in what's your why. Yeah. So if you think about, so there you go. As a teacher, what's your why? So I'm going to put you on the spot, Yuri. As a teacher, what's your why? Like, why do you teach weekly classes?
Oh my God, that's a hard question again.
I saved them all. I saved all the hard ones for you.
So, I will take a step back in the past. I started teaching in 2017, FCBD Style. As I said before, maybe, yes, I think I said that already. I started with Rock Sharky and then with Tribal Fusion. And I was more about performing rather than teaching.
Mm.
And the reason why I started teaching is that I was contacted by a colleague of mine here in Berlin who asked me to cover for her fusion class. So I did that, and that's when I found out that I like teaching, and that's why I teach, I would say. I mean, that's what brought me to teaching. That's what brought me to taking GS and TT, for example, back in 2017, because I really wanted to get to teaching. The reason why I do it, I think there are many different reasons. First of all, the dance style. I mean, I'm in love with FCBD Style. I think it's brilliant the way it works, the communication, the fact that it's a language, and as you know, I have a thing for languages. So, for me, that's really like teaching a language and teaching people how to communicate through dance with other people. It's probably one of my main goals. It's about expanding the dance style in the sense of letting people know that it exists, because as much as our community is pretty big, maybe at the moment, it's not as big as other dance styles. So I really would like to kind of, I mean, that's the reason why I tried so hard to get into advanced teacher training. My goal is to be kind of an ambassador for FCBD Style, because I really wanted to spread like a virus. Like, it has to take everybody.
Like a good virus.
Like a good virus.
Let's say spread like flower pollen.
Exactly. So, I mean, it is contagious in a good way, I think. So, and then obviously there is also the performance thing. I really like the idea of being able to dance with a group. And now I have a small group. I have 3 dancers with me, and the fact that, and again, it's not only about performing, it's a group, but we also became friends through FCBD Style. So, it's just, I don't know if you can learn a different dance style that creates the same connections. Obviously, I don't have experiences with many dance styles, but if I think of Rock Sharky, yes, of course, you can have a huge choreography with 10 people, but it's not the same as improvising with anybody around the world. So that's probably the main thing for me, is trying to spread it as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Of course, I'm all about it. I mean, we've got a whole online school for it, spreading it as much as possible. Yeah. Yeah, and my why, I mean, the short version, I think, is to help people feel um, empowered in their own bodies and in their own energy, and being able to connect closer and with themselves on these different levels, which will help them connect easier with other people. Yeah. So for me, my classes, I do a lot of the physical and the energetic aspect of those. That might not appeal to people that want to learn a choreography, or that would just want to come in and dance. Like, I don't want to know about hip joints. I just want to be able to move them, So yeah, I think that's definitely more along the lines of my why. So that is going to lead your classes a little differently, right? You're going to be focused on trying to get performance opportunities for your dancers, creating connection, getting people to bring friends to class. And my classes might be a little bit more about specific type of drills, or like my focus as a teacher is coming up with unique ways to get people to feel the movements a little bit differently, so that all of a sudden they're doing a swivel step and they're like, oh, I get it now. So those different whys, and having those different whys might be what leads your the type of inclusivity that you have in class. For some other people, maybe they have ADHD and they're like, I want to show people how this dance style can help you harness that energy that you have with the ADHD and connect with other people that have that as well. And it helps you focus, because it becomes more of a moving meditation rather than sit still for somebody that can't. So then they're going to advertise perhaps to and use language on their advertisements that are going to appeal to that kind of demographic. So yeah, I think leaning into your why is going to help you discover where you want your focus on diversity, inclusivity, and what type of student you're looking for. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna check in with the comments here. Hi, Danny and Elena are here. They say, love what Carolina's saying. Inclusivity, yes. Toxic dudes, or whichever gender, by the way, no. Right.
Just toxic people in general. How do you get rid of them? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's a whole different podcast, right? And they said, we had the conversation about their why for years before they opened the dance school. Inclusivity and what it meant to us was a huge part of this conversation. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great example. So Carolena, I always worry if I'm saying that name wrong, but they have children's dance classes, right? Adult dance classes. So you're going to want to be really specific when you're having children's classes about who is included and who is not included. And that's okay to have some exclusivity in those different instances as well. Um, all right. So I'm loving. I mean, I could just sit here, as we know, with both of you all for hours and hours and hours having these conversations, which is always great. But I think that the main thing that I get out of that I've gotten so far out of this conversation is the fact that things change over years, right? And adapt to those changes is really important. Letting your why lead the way and being authentically you so that your community finds you, is also super important. But also the fact that, let's see, I wrote this down, learning moments, right? So what Yuri was saying about having those moments where you're really learning about different demographics, different types of learning, different types of people, different genders, whatever it is, but then being okay with the fact that I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn and willing to be open, and doing so in all instances with kindness.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. All
Absolutely.
right. So I'd love to open this up to what else, anything else that you guys want to showcase about Pride and our dance style, and just leave you an open space to share anything else that you'd want to share. So Yuri, I know we've been talking about this topic for the last 6 months, and I've been so excited to have June be like all about Pride, and have you showcased here, but also with a class coming out later on this month. And just all of the classes that we'll be recommending this month for FCBDU are all around building community and dancing together. So whether it's with chorus or I think we also are focused a lot on some of the classes that we have on like dressing for your shape and your own personal style in the context of group improvisation. So yeah, anything else that you want to share with us would be great.
About Pride. Well, I mean, I'm actually keeping an eye on the sheet that you sent us. So, because there are a few questions here that I found intriguing. So hopefully I can connect them to the Pride thing. But I mean, personally, if I have to think of Pride and dance, I think that anytime that I show up in class, anytime that I show up on the stage, once again, I will say that again, it's probably going to sound annoying by now, but being a man does something in this community. And if I'm a man going on stage or teaching, already that is an act of pride, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, and that's great. The fact that, I don't have problems wearing makeup on stage, wearing a costume, wearing jewelry. Oh my God, jewelry. I mean,
I was like, you don't have a problem wearing jewelry.
jewelry. Come on. Right? So I think that pretty much every time that I showcase what I do in the teaching and in the performing, that's an act of pride, in my opinion. Yeah. And one of, if I may, I would like to, oh, well, maybe you might ask it later, so I will just shut up here.
No, please keep going.
Oh, okay. Because I wanted to connect that to the last questions that you had on the sheet, which said, what message would you like to share with someone who might feel unsure if there's space for them in this dance form? And I'm like, there is space for everybody in this dance form. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we have some exceptions that we said at the beginning. If you're an ass and you're just there to pick on chicks, then no, you're not welcome. But in general, I think that hopefully I'm speaking for the majority of the community when I say that everybody's welcome in this dance style, being if you are a woman, a man, non-binary, a transgender, tall or short, everybody is welcome. So yeah, and I would actually love to see more diversity in the dance community. So yeah, let's celebrate Pride with that. Let's have more diversity.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that so much. And so, Yuri, is it okay? Like, if people are wanting to um, be more inclusive in their classes and have more men, have more non-binary, like, can we just like say, hey, comment on this podcast, right? Leave your comments below, and we'll try to share. And I'm going to speak with Yuri because, like, he'll try to share. I'm just volunteering you ways that you can make a little your advertising, your classes a little more inclusive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you even set up a private lesson or one-on-one conversation of like, hey, this is what I'm doing currently. Can you what kind of language could I use instead of this? Or, just having those conversations would be really, really great.
So first of all, I want to say, obviously I wouldn't say I'm an expert on Pride. I'm just an LGBT person doing my stuff in life, and I don't think there is a way to be perfect in that. It's just everybody approaches it in different ways. But getting back to what you were saying, yes, of course. I mean, everybody can contact me on my email and ask for if you have a question, you can ask me. If you need a private class or something and you want to discuss, as Diana said, advertisement, or again, it doesn't mean that I'm a businessman who knows everything about everything. But,
I love how you were holding like your whiskey. You're like, I'm a businessman.
Gin tonic, always gin tonic.
Gin tonic, yes.
But yeah, it's like I can share my point of view, and I would be really happy if people got in touch with me. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, we have so many great resources within our community for anything, right? For different learning styles, for different types of advertising, for different people, for different countries, for different languages. Like, let's normalize reaching out to somebody out of admiration and being like, hey, you're doing something X, Y, and Z really well, or you're the only person that I know that could help me with this, whatever it is. And like being able to reach out to them. How do you do it? What should I do? Help me out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I feel like we could talk about this forever. Right. This is a topic that isn't just for June. It just happens that we can just like lean into it a little bit more when hopefully the whole world is really showcasing what it means to be proud. Right. And I love that what Elena and Danny just said, like, to us, pride is the opposite of shame. This is what Pride Month is to us. Instead of being ashamed to be different, be proud to be your true self. That I think is for every single day, not just today, not just in June. So let's empower each other to lean into being our total authentic selves, and know that if the world in general is making it really hard for you to be yourself, that you have this community, right? This smaller world where you're 100% encouraged to be your authentic self. Because that's what makes it so rich and so wonderful to be a part of. Right? How boring would it be if we were all the same?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well, I want to be respectful of your time and for everybody that has joined in. So, so thank you both so much. Let's continue this conversation both online, in our blogs this month. Yuri, I can't wait to see you in a few weeks. Speaking of, yay! So I'll see you. I'll be in Germany in 3 weeks. And then we're taking family vacation together.
Basically, yes.
Yes. Family vacay to Italy. And so I know we'll be continuing on all of the fantastic conversations that we typically have. And we'll have our family there. We'll have our mans there to roll their eyes every time we talk about dance, which is fine.
That's their problem.
Exactly. That's their problem. They knew what they were getting into, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you to everyone that joined us in YouTube, and all of these amazing comments and chats that you guys had really, really wonderful to see our community come together and celebrate our diversity. And let's see if we can make it even more so.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Much love.
Bye.